You know what keeps me up at night? The fact that we're all becoming hungry ghosts. These ancient Buddhist beings with huge bellies but pinhole throats, forever starving no matter how much they consume. And in our modern world of endless scrolling and shopping, that image hits differently.
That's quite a striking metaphor. What exactly do you mean by hungry ghosts?
Well, in Buddhist tradition, these beings called pretas represent souls trapped in a state of constant craving. Think about it. They have these massive stomachs, but throats so narrow they can barely swallow. It's actually part of a sophisticated understanding of how different types of karma create different forms of suffering.
So, how does this ancient concept connect to our modern world?
Here's what's fascinating. Research shows the average person spends nearly 7 hours per day on digital devices, constantly consuming content, but never feeling satisfied. It's like we've collectively become these hungry ghosts, endlessly scrolling through social media, shopping online, always seeking the next hit of dopamine.
That's a pretty sobering parallel between ancient wisdom and modern behavior patterns.
And here's where Dr. Gabor Mate's work becomes really relevant. His research shows that what we call addiction isn't just about substances. It's about trying to fill an inner void, often created by early trauma. Studies indicate that about 67% of adults have experienced at least one major adverse childhood experience.
How does that connection between trauma and addiction relate to this hungry ghost concept?
Well, both perspectives view this as a form of suffering rather than a moral failing. The Buddhist tradition emphasizes that these states arise from past actions and current conditions, while modern neuroscience shows how trauma literally rewires our brain's reward pathways.
That makes me think about how our consumer culture might be exploiting these vulnerabilities.
Exactly right. The average American is exposed to between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements daily. Our entire economic system is built on creating and maintaining this state of constant wanting. It's like we've industrialized the hungry ghost condition.
That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. What solutions does Buddhist tradition offer?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Traditional practices focus on three main antidotes: mindfulness, generosity, and gratitude. Recent studies show that regular mindfulness practice can reduce addictive behaviors by up to 40% by helping people recognize and sit with their cravings rather than automatically acting on them.
Those sound like powerful tools for our modern context.
And what's fascinating is how these ancient solutions align with current psychological research. Studies show that acts of generosity activate the same pleasure centers in the brain that addictive behaviors do, but without the negative aftermath.
So it's like we're hardwired to find satisfaction through giving rather than getting.
Precisely. And here's where Tara Brach's concept of the second arrow comes in. She talks about how our initial suffering is often compounded by self-judgment. Recent research indicates that self-compassion practices can reduce anxiety and depression symptoms by up to 50%.
These connections between ancient wisdom and modern science are remarkable.
And they're becoming increasingly relevant. Studies show that rates of anxiety and depression have increased by 25% globally since the pandemic, suggesting our collective hungry ghost condition is intensifying.
How do you see this playing out in the future?
Well, we're at a crucial turning point. The average person now spends more time on digital devices than sleeping, and consumer debt is at historic highs. But there's also growing interest in mindfulness and community-based healing practices.
That sounds like both a warning and a reason for hope.
Exactly. The Buddhist tradition teaches that transformation is always possible, and modern research backs this up. Studies show that even short-term mindfulness practices can begin to reshape neural pathways within 8 weeks.
So, what's the key takeaway for someone hearing this?
I think it's recognizing that this constant sense of wanting more isn't a personal failing. It's a natural response to our environment and experiences. But we have both ancient wisdom and modern science showing us the way out: mindfulness, generosity, and genuine human connection.
That really brings together the personal and the societal dimensions of this issue.
And that's exactly what makes this understanding so powerful. We're not just talking about individual healing. We're looking at how to transform our collective relationship with desire and satisfaction. The Hungry Ghost teaches us that the way out isn't through getting more, but through being more present and connected with what we already have.